Welcome to Business Law. I'm going to give you a little bit of an orientation into how this course works. There's lots of moving pieces to this course, and so I'm going to be probably a little bit long-winded. I apologize in advance for taking up so much of your time, but I think it's time that will be well spent. In my experience, students who pay attention to this video, take careful notes, and refer to the material again are most successful in my online courses. So it's a pretty significant time investment, but I think it'll pay off good dividends for you as you go forward in the course. Let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Cynthia Gruver. I'll be your professor for this course, and this is where your course starts. Since you found this lecture, you probably already found this page. But if somehow or another you found this page without quite being sure where you are, let me kind of point you in the right direction. Okay, so we're looking at our online course. You can see our course name is up here. This is our section. And you'll see that we are in the home section. That's where I put almost all of the data that you need for a class. So if you're never quite sure where to go to home. That's your kind of home base where you're going to start the course. And Canvas should automatically bring you here when you go into our course. So here you get started, and you'll see that you begin at a place called Start Here Orientation. Now, once you're done with this first week, what you're probably going to do is minimize this and not look at this that often. Unless, of course, you have a question, and then you'll be coming back here naturally. But when you don't have a question, you're probably going to minimize this. But for, of course, this lecture, we're going to be spending a significant amount of time, most of our time actually, on this section of the material. And so let's get started. Again, this helps you know that you are in the right course. You may be taking several online courses this semester, and so if you happen to click on the wrong one, either you intend to go to your accounting class, for example, and you stumble into my class, you'll be able to immediately see, oh, wait a second, I need to click out of here and go to the right course, and vice versa. So this is kind of helping you get your bearings. You'll see that this matches this, so you can kind of look at either one of these places to get your bearing. And then you have my name. You know, if you have a class face-to-face, you get to know the instructor's face and his or her name, but since we're online, there's a little bit less of that human connection, and so I provide my name here just so you don't become familiar with it. And then the next thing we have is the online lecture. You've already clicked on this, and so you've found this. This is how you access what you're hearing right now. And then here's the PowerPoint. This is a really good reference going forward because, as you'll discover, most likely you don't want to listen to the orientation lecture probably more than once or twice, especially if you're looking for just one particular fact. There's a lot of time that can eat up, and so many times whatever the information is that you're looking for is in the PowerPoint or it's on the syllabus. And so these are two really handy documents that you can pull up and review in just a matter of seconds and get you the information that you need. Of course, if you don't find them in these two, you might want to look at some of these other documents. And if you can't find it here, you always do have that option of watching the orientation lecture again. I'm going to suggest before we begin that you would go ahead and pause this to do two things. One is to get out your calendaring tool, whatever that might be. I happen to like to use an online calendar on my phone, but you may be a person who prefers an actual physical calendar, or you may have some other kind of app that you like to use. Whatever it is, pause me, go get it so you'll have that handy so that when we get to date stuff, you'll be able to play around with that information. The second thing, of course, and you've probably already done this, but in the event you haven't done it, go ahead and get a notebook because you're going to want to take a lot of notes. You're going to want to pause me at several points and say, wait a second, didn't get all that down. Let me write it down. And you may even want to, go back 30 seconds or 40 seconds or whatever on the video to capture that information. Doing that is going to mean that it's going to take you a little bit longer to get through this, but it's going to save you so much time because what you don't want to have to do is watch this video 5 times because I said this at some point in the video, but you don't remember when I said it. And so then you have to watch the whole thing again. Much better to take careful notes, and then you can refer to the notes instead of having to find the video. And what you might even want to do is write down the time because let's say your notes are a little bit maybe less detailed. If you write down the minute that you were at when you were watching it, then you can quickly return to that and listen to it one more time. Okay, so let's talk about these two documents. These are really going to be foundational documents. You're going to be looking at this syllabus one probably every single week, maybe even multiple times a week, to get your bearings to see, okay, what's the next chapter up, or what do we need to do this week? What are the tasks? Then this PowerPoint lecture is kind of a reminder about how the course is organized. So these are two good places to go when you have a question. I'm going to give you a little bit of a heads up. One of the things that I try to do is empower students to be their own leaders in terms of getting to the finish line in the course. So if you send me an email, gosh, I know she covered this during orientation, but I don't remember the answer, you can send me an email, and you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I covered that in that orientation unit, so go ahead and look for it. If you can't find it, come to my office hours, and you and I will work together to find the material. I want you to have all of the information that I'm providing. That's why I give it to you in the orientation. I'm happy to work with you, but it's not good for you for me to spoon feed it to you. I mean, obviously I'm an adult, you're an adult. I'm not going to treat you as if you were a 10th grader or a 7th grader or whatever. I'm going to treat you like an adult. I'm going to say something once, and then I'm going to say, wait a second, if that student didn't catch it the first time, they can watch it again, because they are the ones who are in control of where they're going to be successful in the course. So I'm empowering you to take that responsibility going forward. You're welcome to send me the email, and it may be something I didn't cover. And then, of course, I'll say, oops, bad on me. I should have told you this. I'll send you an email. I'll probably post it somewhere in my next orientation lecture at it. But if I cover it once, I feel like I've covered it, and I'm going to direct you to the materials. Okay, so that's just a reminder that these are going to be super awesome resources for you. Then some of these other resources are going to be useful too, and we'll talk more about these as we go forward. As we can see, there's a lot of orientation materials. The one thing that we see in the orientation section, orientation module, that counts for some bang, or some points, I guess you could say, is going to be the Canvas orientation quiz. You're going to want to do that. Now, the good news is you have 3 shots at it, and I'm going to take the highest grade. I like to tease students and say, if you have to take it the 3rd time, though, I'm not maybe going to think you were paying the best of attention, because I actually give you the answers the first time you go through it. Now, I'm going to ask that you not breeze through it, not paying any attention, and just gather the answers together, because you are really and truly responsible for this information, and I want you to really know it, not because I care about you knowing about this course. Obviously, at the end of the semester, who cares what my rules were? That's kind of irrelevant to your larger life, but because it's going to set you up for academic success, understanding how this course is organized. This is all about getting you to the finish line and getting you successful. So please do all the orientation tools, then take the quiz that first time. You're probably going to get all the answers right. If you miss 1 or 2, note the ones you miss, get those answers right, and then take it again, and you'll get 100. Easy peasy. If you happen to click on the wrong answer accidentally, take it the 3rd time. I'm just teasing about not having any respect for you if you have to take it the 3rd time. That's why I give you that 3rd time option. It does count for a grade, but it's just 1% of your grade. So it's not a big deal, but you certainly don't want to miss the opportunity to get that 1 point. That's the only thing in this first module that counts for a grade. But as I said before, you are setting yourself up for success if you pay attention to this material. Okay, so let's get started on the PowerPoint. Here is the PowerPoint. I've already downloaded it, but of course what you're going to do is just click on this item right here. So here we have our PowerPoint. You'll see that all of my lectures are going to start with something like this. Sometimes students think that, oh, the lectures are kind of nice if I have enough time, but I may not have that much time, and so I'm going to get to them if I get to them, but if I don't, it's not any big deal. Not true in this course. Maybe true in other courses, but not true in this course. It's more important that you watch the videos and you read the textbook. This needs to be your first priority. I hope you do both. To get an A or a B, you probably do need to do both. But to be successful, you really, really need to watch the videos. Lots of times the scenarios I cover in the videos are what are the test questions are based upon. You are setting yourself up for success if you watch the videos. Now, I understand your time is precious. You have so many different competing interests, different courses, jobs, family responsibilities. And one of the nice things about these lectures is they're portable. You can be driving around town doing errands. You can be in the shower. You can be cooking dinner. Lots of different times that you can watch or listen at least to these lectures. And it's really not that important that you watch them. As you'll see, there's, other than the PowerPoints, there's not a lot of visual things going on here. Pay attention to the examples that I give because many times my test questions are based upon them. You may even want to jot down the examples. And so use this time as serious test preparation time. And please, please don't short shift yourself by not watching the videos and not watching them carefully. Okay, so let's get started on the orientation. Welcome. Hopefully I've already said this, but sometimes I get a little distracted and I forget to say the obvious. I'm going to try in this orientation to answer, should have been a comma there, I apologize, a lot of the common questions you have and maybe concerns that you have. Perhaps this is your first online course. If so, welcome. This is going to be an awesome experience. You are going to have a blast because this is a really, really interesting subject. I know instructors always say that about their courses, and they probably mean it, but you're thinking, you know what? Calculus isn't that interesting, or physiology isn't that interesting. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, but this stuff is fascinating. This is how our world works. This is the physics of human relations. These are the laws. They're not laws of physics, they're laws of humans. How we figure out this economy, how we make money, how we decide who gets what. This is foundational. If this doesn't interest you, you're not paying attention because this stuff is fundamental to our civilization. If you're a business person, this is key because you know what? Every business decision that you make is backed up by the law. Because if the law doesn't permit it or the law has some impediment to it, you're setting yourself up for bad results. So this stuff is important and it's interesting. And I'm going to try to make it seem like it's both of those things at the same time. I'll be successful sometimes, I won't be other times, but hopefully you'll be on board with me at least philosophically to see the cool stuff that we're going to be covering. So let's continue. Here's me. My name is Cynthia Gruver. I began practicing law back in 1990, so I'm very, very old. I may even be older than your parents, which makes me feel very old. I started practicing at a large law firm down in Houston. That's my hometown. And then after I worked there for a little while, I went in-house. I worked for J.C. Penney for, I guess, 17 years. And then I came to work here. My areas of concentration were labor and employment law. That's really just one area, although there's a little and between it. That's chapter 24 of our textbook, so I will be spending extra time on that because it's especially near and dear to my heart. It's also especially interesting, in my opinion. I was also a litigator, and I've had dabbled in a variety of areas in addition to litigation, labor, and employment. And so I'll hopefully be showing you some more stories and some interesting tasks as we go forward. But I've been at Collin for several years now, since 2010. I'm the discipline lead, which kind of means I'm the department chair. It's kind of similar for the paralegal program. So mainly I teach students who want to become paralegals or attorneys. If that is you, if you have an interest in the law, please come see me. I can give you so much cool information. I would be delighted to point you in the right direction in terms of courses or careers. I can explain to you the difference between a paralegal and an attorney and what the advantages are and disadvantages of both. I don't happen to have ever been a paralegal, but many of my best friends are paralegals. Many of the colleagues with whom I've worked closely are paralegals, so I know a lot about that particular career path, and I certainly have been an attorney, so I know it can tell you a lot about that. But I recognize most students in this course, they're not that interested in studying the law. I get that, and so I'm not going to try to teach the course as if y'all were all fledgling attorneys or fledgling paralegals. I'm going to try to restrict the information to things that I think a business person needs to know about business law. So that's the focus, but I certainly want to open it up for folks who might have a different or an additional interest. In addition to paralegal courses, I teach business law. Duh, that's why we're here. And I also teach hospitality law, which is kind of a business law version of or excuse me, sort of a hospitality-based business law course. So if you're in the hospitality program, I may be seeing you again. And then I teach employment practices. This is an HR management course that is about HR law, which obviously fits in nicely with my career path, being a labor and employment instructor. This is HARPO, HRPO 2303, I think. So if you have an interest in that topic, I certainly hope to see you again. I teach all of these courses online. Most of our paralegal courses are face-to-face, but I also teach some of those online. So I hope to see you in a future course if these are things that can add value to your career goals. And of course, I'll be seeing you, metaphorically, I'm doing air quotes right now, in this course. So let's go forward. My office is on the Preston Ridge campus. That's where I spend most of my time, and it is in the library building on the second floor in room 232. My office points toward the quad. I've got a really cool office. I'm very pleased with it. I hope you come and see me. I am the least intimidating person on the planet. So don't be shy. I will be delighted to meet with you, to give you career guidance, to give you help with the course. I am here as a resource for you, and I hope to get to know you. If you're taking this course in the summer, I usually don't have my office hours in my office. I usually have it in a classroom. So be sure to check the syllabus if you are planning on visiting me during my quote-unquote office hours, because they're not always in my office. But this is where my office is, and if we're meeting, say, outside of my normal office hours, this is most likely where we'll meet. And of course, you'll see my office hours and the location for those office hours in the syllabus. I also oftentimes have virtual office hours. I recognize many folks are in a similar situation to me. You've got lots of things going on in your life: kids, spouses, maybe parents or grandparents with whom you are caring, jobs, other things. And so sometimes office hours aren't the most convenient for you, or you can't come actually to the office hours. One approach is, of course, calling during office hours, but another approach is to have virtual office hours where you're on your iPhone or your Android phone and you can call in or actually log in, and we can see each other and talk about whatever the issue is. It's not quite as good as a face-to-face meeting, but we definitely can interact in a way that maybe a telephone call isn't as productive. And maybe you're at work, maybe you're taking a 15-minute break, or maybe it's your lunch break, and we can do the work that we need to get you to the finish line of success. So that's another thing to keep in mind. When we go over the syllabus, I'll show you some more about that information. Okay, so what do you need? There is one textbook, but this is a little tricky. I'm going to get you prepped for this. You need to buy the textbook from the Collin bookstore. Please don't buy it anywhere else. You are literally throwing your money away, because you need the one at the Collin bookstore. Now, this is confusing because the book that we use is generally available. I mean, you can go to Amazon, you can go to PJ's, you can go to lots of different places and buy the book. But you can buy a book with that name, but it's not going to be the book you need, and you will have to go out and buy it from the bookstore. So please, please don't buy it anywhere other than the bookstore. You may say, well, why, Gruver? I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you why. The bookstore version is custom. And the most important custom feature is that it has an access code in it. And this access code is to the Connect tool. If you were to go out and buy the Connect tool on your own, and you can, it's actually more expensive to buy the Connect tool than it is to buy our custom book with the Connect tool in it. It's a little bit like if you were to go to a fast food restaurant and order, you can either order the cheeseburger, $5, or you could order this cheeseburger and fries, $4. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to order the cheeseburger and fries for $4 because you get fries, and even if you don't want to eat the fries, it's still cheaper. Well, it's the same deal here. You get Connect and the book for less money than Connect by itself. So you need to buy it from the bookstore. And we'll talk more about Connect going forward, but be sure to buy it. Now, a follow-up to that is you don't want to buy it used, because the Connect code, the access code, very possibly was used previously. Now, if you can find a friend, or go through Craigslist or some other tool and find somebody who didn't use the access code, and there are sections of business law who don't use the access code, so it could be that the access code wasn't used, you certainly can buy that. I mean, I don't get a commission from the books, so that'd be nice, wouldn't it? I don't. So you definitely need to buy a version of the book that has the access code, and the access code has never been used. Okay. And this is the information about the book. This is not optional. Connect is not optional. 45% of your grade is Connect based. So that means if you get 100 on everything, you're still getting a 55 for the semester. First of all, only one student have I ever had who has approached getting 100 on everything. You may be my second student who does that, but even if you are, you're still failing the course, so you don't want to do that. You definitely need Connect. We'll talk more about Connect going forward, but please don't see that as an option. If for some reason you say, listen, I don't want to buy that book, it's too expensive. Number one, it's not, but if you feel like it is too expensive, you need to go wait for another semester and take it with another instructor. There are instructors who don't use Connect, and I certainly understand that budget is an important factor. That's a responsible thing to be concerned about. And so if you do not want to buy the textbook, or you want to share a textbook with somebody, then this is not the section for you. Sign up with another instructor who doesn't use the Connect tool. Okay. These are the chapters we will be covering. We won't be covering them in this order, but we'll do 1 through 14, excluding 4, 21, 24, and 25. And you'll see as we go forward that each one of these textbook chapters has its own module on Canvas. And we'll talk about how you connect your Connect with Canvas going forward. We haven't quite gotten to that point yet. This is our online classroom. We are never, ever going to meet as a class, but I hope that you feel at the end of the semester that it is a class. I always survey students at the end to see what they liked and what they didn't like, and I try to tweak the course to reflect common themes that I see, to do more of what people like and less of what people don't like. And I've done that in this case. So each semester the course is a little bit new, a little bit different, hopefully a little bit better. One of the things that I get from the comments is that students really like the discussion boards. They find them interesting and engaging. And that's, of course, what makes the class feel like a class. So I hope that you will have a similar experience, and you will get that feeling that we really are a class. And as I said before, the lectures are another important part of it. Lectures are essential. Of course, when you're watching or you're participating in a classroom, and here, let's imagine this is me. Of course, it's not, but let's imagine that were me. You just raise your hand when you have a question. What does that mean? I don't get that, or I disagree, or whatever. You can't do that in a tape lecture. I get that. So that's why you're going to email me your questions that you have. As you're listening to the lecture, jot down things. Hey, that didn't make sense, or what about this, or I missed a step there. So jot those questions down and email them to me. We'll talk more about how to email later on. As you email them to me, it may be that your question's just quirky with you, and so I may just respond directly to you and say, okay, this is what I think your answer is. Or it may be that I think you're really onto something and that other people may have that same question. In that case, I will post this in another section, and we'll talk more about that later on. And so I'll be able to communicate that information to everyone, because, again, if you're asking the question, there's a pretty good chance maybe someone else has that similar question. Okay, so don't be shy about asking questions. I would love for this course to be interactive, and the way to do it is through your participation. It's so helpful, I think, to get started on Canvas by just browsing, just kind of wandering around. Set aside 10 minutes just to explore the material. You'll see there's lots of things. Click on it. Watch a little bit. Read a little bit. Just kind of get your bearings so you have the lay of the land, so to speak. I think that will pay off in the long run. When you're looking for something, you're not quite sure where something is or not quite sure how something is organized, don't despair. click away until you find what you need. And then, if you don't find it after some serious, legitimate effort, that's when you reach out to a classmate or even to me with questions about how to get to a particular place. Again, you found the orientation module. It's the top one. It's the Start Here one. Again, pay particular attention to that because that's what's going to lead to success. At the end of the semester, oftentimes we'll have students say, well, but how do I do this? But how do I do that? And I think to myself, oh my goodness, you've gone this whole semester and you didn't know about this resource? Well, you've been shooting yourself in the foot. You paid for the full course. Don't deny yourself important benefits through a lack of information about the resources that I try to offer to students. If you're new to Canvas, Collin has provided resources designed to help you be successful. And here's a link that you can visit to find out more about it. We want you to get familiar. Some people are really comfortable on the Canvas online format, and some people need a little bit of time to explore and to learn about how it works. And so please use this resource, especially if it's your first online course at Collin. I'm going to say this about 50 times. You're going to get frustrated with me, but you really, 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 really need to read your syllabus. Print it out. Put it wherever you keep all of your study resources, your folder for this course, your spiral, whatever you use. Keep your syllabus with you so you know what's going on. It is your manual for the course. It would be a little bit like I've got this crazy clock. My husband has his clock radio on his nightstand. I have my clock radio on my nightstand. I don't know how to change it from daylight savings time to not daylight savings time. So half the year, it's off. And I lost the manual, and it's hieroglyphics on it explaining me how to do this. So even when I had the manual, it really didn't help very much. And so I just decided to live with it. It's kind of crazy. So I'm not defending my position. Don't be me, be you, be smarter than me. Don't limit your success in the course. This is your manual. This is your playbook. This is your how-to. This is what you need to make success come easy to you. A few minutes reading these, referring to it when you need to, is going to probably increase your grade by a letter grade. I mean, I'm just ballparking it, but the difference between not reading it and reading it is huge. It will let you know where to invest your time studying, what maybe you can blow off a little bit, that type of thing. I do at least one announcement a week. This is designed to give you the high points. Sometimes it's to point you to the most important material. Sometimes it's designed to help you understand an organizing concept. One of the things studies indicate help people be successful in classes or really learning anything is to have a paradigm or a schema in their head about how to organize that data. There's a whole methodology with memory work called memory palaces. You may have heard about it. If you haven't, boy, I sure hope that you think about doing a little bit of research, because knowing how to memorize stuff can make a huge difference in your success. It can save you a tremendous amount of study time, and it can lead to much, much higher grades. But anyway, if you know memory palaces are awesome. If you don't, stop me right now and Google it. I'm not going to spend time in the lecture covering something that probably most of you already know about. But anyway, a memory palace. What I'm going to try to give you is the architecture for a memory palace for this course. And so pay attention to the announcements. Look at those before you start the chapter. We'll talk more about assignments and due dates when we get a little bit later into this presentation, but there's some good news with this. So if you're kind of nodding off here, know that I'm about to give you some good news about this. The good news, however, is not that I accept late submissions. I don't ever accept late assignments. There's several reasons I don't. One of them is that I'm an attorney, and in the law, you just can't submit late stuff. And I realize that y'all aren't saying to become legal professionals, but it's just such a foundational idea for legal professionals that for this one course, I think it's important that you kind of get exposed to that idea. there's no such thing as turning things in late in the law. And so you really need to respect those deadlines. And so I'm not going to give you any extensions. I'm going to listen sympathetically. I'm going to say, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. I'm going to give you a hug. I'm going to pat you on the back. I'm going to give you a tissue to dry your eyes. I am going to believe any silly story you tell me, because I believe everybody. I am the world's most gullible person, I promise you. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm going to say, I believe you. I wish I could do it for you because you deserve it. But you know what? I just can't, because I have to be consistent. So my suggestion is that you avoid giving me the story. Whether it's the truth or whether it's not, let's just skip that, because I'm telling you what my answer is going to be anyway. But the wonderful thing about this section is the due date. Well, we'll talk about what's wonderful about this, but just put a little flag here in your notes, and when we get to that section, all knowledge will be revealed. Okay, let's go forward. Visit the course. You need to log in by Tuesday. And by the way, our courses start, or this course starts on Monday morning at, I guess, 12:01 a.m. So it's not like a Sunday through Saturday week. It's a Monday 12:01 a.m. through Sunday 11:59 p.m. course. So think about it along those lines. So log in at least by Tuesday. And try to log. I'll usually drop my announcements Monday morning. Sometimes I might be doing something and it might be pushed to Tuesday, but usually it's going to be Monday, sometime on Monday, usually Monday morning. And so by Tuesday, it will definitely be there. You'll be ready to get started. If you're taking this over the summer, you probably want to log in 3 times a week at least, and definitely for 2 times a week. You need to do 2 times a week because you got to post twice, and you need to post on separate days. So at a minimum 2 times a week. Check announcements. Again, you're going to get announcements in 2 different ways. You're going to get it posted on Canvas. Let me just show you what that looks like. We'll just pause here. We're on slide 12. Okay, here we go. So you'll see announcements are up here. So exciting, waiting for that. Here we go. You'll see that I have lots of announcements showing here, but you will just see this announcement. And so you'll see this announcement, you'll be able to click on it and read all the cool information. Super fascinating, as you can imagine. But you'll also get this same note in your Cougar Mail email. Either place, you can look for it. They're going to have the same information, so it's kind of whatever you prefer along those lines, whichever is most convenient for you. But be sure, wherever you read it, that you read it. It's important stuff. Again, you also wanted to go to the discussion board. Sometimes what happens in the course, I know it won't happen this semester because this semester everybody is super awesome, but sometimes when I have less than the super awesome students that I have this semester, students wait until the end to participate in discussion boards. I know you're all thinking, what? There are students that are so irresponsible that they wait to the last day to participate in a discussion board. You know, it's appalling for you, but it happens. I mean, it's kind of tragic, but it happens. And so I know it's not going to be something you do, but when you post earlier than the last day, you do 2 things. Well, more than 2 things. You do so many awesome things when you post early. One thing that you do is you give another person something to reply to, because you know what? When you make a post, you have to make 2 posts. You make your first post. It's kind of a blind post because you can't see anything until you post once. And then you make a reply post. You read someone else's post, hopefully lots of people's, but you at least read one person's post and you respond to it. But you know what? If nobody posts until the last day, it's pretty hard to respond. So you're helping out your friends in the class by giving them material to reply to, number 1. Number 2, you're helping yourself because, as I said before, you can't make both posts on the same day. You're going to lose points. The third thing is everybody faces the possibility of technical issues. The internet goes down, Canvas goes down, your computer glitches. Who knows what happens, you know, the zombie apocalypse hits or whatever. and somehow you can't post. And so guess what? No credit. But you know what? If you post on Thursday and the zombie apocalypse happens Thursday afternoon, you're okay. So the earlier you post, you're helping yourself so you don't have to worry about it. You're helping your classmates so they have something to reply to, and you're avoiding the zombie apocalypse. I mean, maybe not avoiding it, but at least you're going to get a good grade as the world crumbles around you. So be sure to post early. I suggest you have set times. Again, when you visit on that Tuesday, probably go ahead and do the discussion board post, or at least maybe Wednesday or Thursday. You have to have read the material to do it, so you may not be able to do it on the Tuesday. But I would ask that you seriously consider having your primary post by Thursday, and then probably doing your other post Friday or Saturday. I know I'm not talking to you when I say this, but to the other students in the class, you don't want to be that person who waits until Sunday to make the post. Super uncool. All the cool kids post by noon on Sunday. I'm just telling you that, just so you'll know, okay? Anyway, let's go forward. You have to make 2 posts. Your substantive post by noon on Saturday. That's the very latest time. If it's after that, you're losing points. So anyway, that's my spiel about that. Oh, but another common issue that people forget about is to post the word count. You need to post your word count. I count. I know, I'm such a nerd. I count. I'll transfer it into Microsoft Word and have it do the word count. I mean, if you're 1 or 2 words off, I'm not going to nail you on it, but every now and again I get somebody who has, creative math, and there's 76 words and they tell me there were 114, and I don't like that very much. It's really an issue of academic honesty. If it really has 112 and you say it has 114, I'm cool with that. I get that you counted differently than Microsoft Word does or something like that, but I'm not cool with a number that is not accurate. You can count it manually, or you can dump it into some program to do it. I don't care, but I do expect your numbers to be pretty accurate. If you don't post a number at all, you're losing points. So don't be that guy or gal. Okay, let's go forward. Again, the modules help you organize your work so you don't miss assignments, resources, and due dates. So be sure to open the module and look at each module as that module comes forward, because everything in that is designed to be a resource for you. You either have to do it in order to get points or whatever, or you ought to consider doing it because I think that's going to help you be successful. I'm not the instructor who's constantly reminding you about due dates. Again, let me refer you to the beginning of this lecture. I'm an adult, you're an adult. I don't want to insult you. That's not adult stuff. I don't tell my husband, hey, honey, you need to schedule your dental appointment. No, because guess what? He's an adult. But you know what? I have teenage children, and yeah, I do schedule their dental appointment. I do remind them to brush and floss and all that good stuff because they're not adults. Guess what? You're an adult, so I'm just not going to do that. If you're used to instructors doing that, remember, I'm not that person. I'm not going to send you 20 emails saying, oh, guess what? Midterm's coming up. No, because I've already told you in the syllabus when it's coming up. And so you have that information, and I know you're going to use it responsibly. And so going forward. Exigent circumstances. Hopefully we won't be hit by a tornado or the zombie apocalypse. But I'm just not going to give deadline extensions for that. I mean, the zombie apocalypse, maybe, but not anything else. So be sure to work early on things so whatever happens, you're covered. Computer problems are definitely not an emergency. I'm really not interested in those. I will help you. If you have a computer problem, I will give you some advice about how to avoid it in the future in terms of, what browsers to use, that kind of cool stuff. I have all kinds of useful information. So I'm happy to problem solve for the next thing, but I am so over giving advice about or hearing the story about how you really ought to get more time because da 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 da. I'll listen sympathetically. I'll even make a cup of hot tea so we can cooze about it for a little while, but there's just not going to be an extension. Okay. Talk to me. I get lonely. Especially in an online course, I don't get to meet people. So few people visit my office hours, and I'm a social person. So come see me. I would really like to get to know you, to find out what's important to you and how I can help you be successful. We can do it by email. We can do it by the telephone. We can do it face-to-face. We can do it by the virtual office tool, Zoom. So come. Let's talk about email etiquette. I think this might be the single most important thing I cover in the course. Um, for some reason, the public schools in Collin County have not elected to teach students how to use emails. That's sad. If there were one thing I probably could put into the curriculum, it would be this, because this is huge to your success. Now, it's important to this course that you be successful with emails, but honestly, this course in the scheme of your life is like nothing, right? It's just beyond trivial. But your success in getting that first career job and progressing in your career, that's important stuff. And this is huge. Knowing how to send emails is huge to your success. And so pay attention to this. Don't pay attention to it because this is how you're going to get an A in this course. Because again, this course is beyond trivial. What's important is that you take this information and apply it to the stuff that really matters. Your job, your interviewing, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so this is how you email me. Let me first of all start by saying again, you want to check your Cougar Mail email. There is a way to forward your Cougar Mail email to your real email. Let's say you've got a Gmail account. You hate to go into your Cougar Mail. I mean, there's so many clicks you have to make. No worries. You can forward your Cougar Mail to your Gmail or whatever your account is. I haven't actually posted it, I don't think, in this course, just because I have so many things posted, it kind of got lost. Maybe I do, I can't remember right now. But if you would like to know how to do that, send me an email. I'll be glad to send you some information. But whether you use Cougar Mail or you send it to your regular email account, you really, really do need to be in touch with your emails. And you need to send any emails from your Cougar Mail that you want to send to me. Again, if I send you an email and you have that forwarding on your Cougar Mail account, it will go to your Gmail. But you can't email me from your Gmail account. It has to go through your Cougar Mail. So be sure to use that account. And this is my email. It's just my first initial, C. My first name is Cynthia. And then my last name, Gruver. Kind of weird. Blame this on my husband. There's a V here instead of a B. So V is in Victor at collin.edu. You can see it doesn't have the usual Cougar Mail stuff in here. Faculty don't have that in their email. This is my email. This is what you send it to. Do not send it to the Canvas inbox tool. Let me show you what I'm talking about when I say this, because invariably I have a few students who do this. This inbox thing, pretend it doesn't exist. I wish I could turn it off because I don't look there. I really, really don't look there. It's important to me that you not send emails here. Now, you may have other instructors who really, really, really want to get all of their correspondence to you from this. Let me explain why I don't use this tool. I organize students into folders. So you will have a folder. Let's say your last name is Green. You will be in my students with the surname Green, or G folder. Not just Green, but G folder. I put all of them there, and then it alphabetically arranges it. So if you send me 20 emails and your name is Lawrence Green, they will all be grouped together, especially if you send it from your Cougar Mail, because you'll start with the same name. And so I can look over the history of everything that we've talked about, and let's say, oh, now what did I say to Lawrence back? Oh yeah, I did. Okay, I did say I could do that for him. Okay, so I will go forward with that. Or, oh no, I told him I couldn't. Well, then that's the answer. It helps me keep track because I have, just so many students that I have to keep track of, and I want to be consistent with a student. But if it's in this inbox, then Lawrence Green's emails to me are just going to be associated with this particular class. And so if Lawrence ends up taking my employment practices class, I won't be able to look at the emails from that class going forward while I'm talking about this class. And I'm going to have to remember, now, did Lawrence take that employment practices course last semester or 2 semesters ago or 5 semesters ago? It just becomes really, really difficult for me to find those emails. So it's much, much easier for me if they're all in one place. I can sort it. I can find it. It helps me keep track of students. As I said before, I'm in the paralegal program, and so most of the students that I have multiple times a semester, multiple semesters, and so it's really, really, no, it's not as important for business law, but it can be important even with business law classes, because sometimes business law students become paralegal students. So don't use this. Instead, use my email. And of course, the practical reason you don't want to use it is that I'm not going to see it, and I'm not going to respond to it. So whatever you said to me there, you kind of wasted your time because I'm not going to respond to it. I will respond to your emails typically, I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, within minutes typically. It kind of freaks some people out that I'm sitting by my email ready to pounce on your response. Literally, sometimes it's minutes. I mean, I may be in class or I may be picking up my kids or whatever, but I'm usually extremely responsive. Now, I mean, obviously I have classes and I have other responsibilities, so I'm not promising I'll have a response like that, but it's almost always within 24 hours. The one exception here is that I do go away for most of my weekends. So from late afternoon on Friday until Monday morning, most of the time I'm not going to be available to answer questions or respond. Where I go for the weekends, we don't have internet. It's kind of one of the reasons we have it, so that we're not constantly uh, hooked into the world. It's kind of our retreat, and so I won't be able to respond to emails for the weekends. But during the week, I am there and excited to respond to your emails. So let's talk about, this is what I was talking about before, about how this is the important stuff in the course, how to write an email. I teach whole modules on this when I'm in the paralegal course, but I'm not going to spend as much time on that. Here are some things that are really helpful for you to present yourself as a professional. The first thing you want to do is pick a subject line that communicates what your email is about. You want to think about this. This isn't something that you compose in 15 seconds flat. You want something that is going to help you file this email appropriately, that's going to help the recipient file the email appropriately, and that lets the recipient know before he or she clicks on it information that helps the recipient prioritize the matter. That's not easy to do. It really isn't. It's not something that you can just start typing and 10 seconds later you have a subject line. It's kind of stop and think. What information should I include? What information is too much? For example, an email to me, you're going to want to include your course. BUSI 2301 and whatever the section is, because sometimes I teach multiple sections. And you're going to want to not just include the course name, but you're going to want to include some additional information. Sometimes I teach 7 or 8 sections in a particular semester. So especially if it's an online course, I know you, obviously, because you're in my class, but I may not remember which of my classes you're in, because I'm going to be teaching multiple business laws. And so if you say, boy, this grade isn't showing up here, and you don't tell me what section you're in, I may have to flip through 3 or 4 courses to find you. I mean, that's not productive. So give me the section as well. And then give me a brief summary about what the issue is. So I can know, hey, is this something I have to jump on right now? Or is this something that maybe I can wait a few hours to respond to? If you're having a technical difficulty, I might want to wait a little while to see if I get emails from other folks. So there's some reasons to think about it in those terms. So the subject line is an important part. Then you want to start with a greeting. This is the one that's most appropriate. You can spell out professor if you want to. That's fine. But you start with Dear Professor Gruver and colon. Sometimes people refer to me as Dr. Gruver. It is true that I have a Juris Doctorate. That's all attorneys have that. But attorneys don't use the doctorate title. Even though we have doctorates, we don't say doctor in front of our name. So it would be better. Professor Gruver is the most appropriate, but if you don't, for whatever reason, want to use professor, you can use Ms. Gruver, MS period. So dear Professor Gruver, you want to end it, as you do with all business correspondence, with a colon. A comma is for personal correspondence, not for business correspondence. That's a signal to your reader, hey, I'm not emailing you as a friend, I'm emailing you as a colleague or a subordinate or a boss or some kind of business matter. And of course, we're in the business of learning, so that's why we use the colon. And then you're going to want to include a discussion of whatever your issue is. You want it to be brief. Obviously, you're not going to have any typos. I don't have to tell you that. But you're going to want to read it through carefully to make sure you don't have a missing word or something along those lines. And you're going to want to think through what's the best way to communicate the information. You want to be as specific as possible because you want to get a meaningful response. Every now and again, you wouldn't do this, but some other students who weren't as sophisticated as you send me notes saying something like, I don't get what we're supposed to do in chapter 4. Can you help? Huh? How am I supposed to respond to that? If the student had instead said, part 14 of the chapter 4 assignment indicates that we're supposed to write an explanation about topic Y. How many words are you expecting that answer to be? Thanks for your help. That's a brilliant email. As a general rule, if the person can't respond completely with 3 sentences, ideally less than 3 sentences, but 3 sentences, you haven't asked an email appropriate question. Now, of course, it's always nice to be nice to other people, and so I'm not going to try to discourage you from being nice, especially not. I'm going to encourage you to be nice to me. But it's not so much that you're trying to be nice to me, it's that you're trying to get to serve your own interest. A question like, I don't get it, can you help? It's not going to end happy. It's just not. Because I'm going to say, well, what don't you get? I mean, that's an obvious question I'm going to ask. And then you respond, well, I just don't understand it. What don't you understand? I mean, we're going to play this game back and forth. We're not going to get anywhere. So if you have something like that that is this kind of amorphous thing, you're just not sure, I get it. That happens all the time. We've all been there. And you know what that requires? A meeting, a telephone conversation. You and I talking back and forth, we probably can work it out in 5 minutes, maybe even less than that. The I don't get it, I'm not quite sure, all that stuff isn't email conversations. It's a real conversation. Now, email can be a good part of that process. Hey, I can't get with you during your office hours. I got some questions. Can we talk at a different time? Email can set up that later conversation, but it's not good. It's good to answer precise questions. The textbook says that usually that takes 30 days, but in your lecture you said it could be 30 to 60 days. Could you help me get some clarity on that? That's a brilliant question. That's an awesome question. Saying, I just don't understand about topic X, that's not a good question. Okay, so think about, is this something that's done well through email, or is it something that's done well through a real life conversation? In your conclusion, you're going to close with sincerely or thanks or very truly or just something like that. And you're going to want to include your full name. You can include a nickname that you use, but if in the register that I have, let's say you go by, Honey Bear is the name you like to go by, and your legal name is Teresa Martinez. Well, don't sign it Honey Bear, sign it Teresa Honey Bear Martinez. That's fine. I'm happy to call you Honey Bear if that's what you prefer. But I'm not going to have a honey bear on my registry unless that happens to be the name that you were given. And also include contact information if you want me to do something other than to reply. So if you want me to call you or something like that, obviously I need to know the contact information. If somehow or another you leave it out of the subject line what the course is, please be sure to include it in your discussion. If you leave out the course, most likely I'm not going to look it up. I'm just going to respond back and say, please give me the course in the section. And so you're going to delay getting that information to me. My suggestion is to not send me emails through smartphones. I don't think in the history of my teaching here I have ever gotten a professionally put together email through a smartphone. I'm not saying it can't happen, but you're really, really stacking the deck against it happening. And when I see sent from your iPhone, it kind of communicates, I don't think this person's important enough for me to actually spend some time thinking about this. It definitely leaves kind of an unfortunate impression, one that isn't going to serve your interest. You know, I mean, I've got healthy self-esteem, so don't worry about hurting my feelings. I'm more concerned about your success than my feelings, and that's not the road to success. So go ahead and compose it at a real keyboard so you can think about it, play around with the word choice, think about, is this the most effective way to say it? Okay. No brainer. I'm not going to spend time on that. It's very rare that I see inappropriate comments in the discussion boards. I'm a little bit old-fashioned, and so please be sure to keep it G-rated. Think about what your rabbi, your imam, your priest, your minister, your grandmother, whomever the person is in your life who's maybe a little bit on the conservative side, if that person might be taken aback by language or stories or whatever, think of me as that fuddy-duddy. So please keep it not just PG, but let's go ahead and keep it G, and especially with language, but also with content. I would very much appreciate that. Always, of course, proofread your post to make sure you don't have typos or you're not missing punctuation or things along those lines. That's a no-brainer. I know I can count on you to do that. Where I talked about announcements, I showed you where to find those announcements. Let me just show you one more time. We're on slide 21. Here we go. So when you open the course, it's going to automatically take you to home. And then when you want to look at announcements, you can look at it through your Cougar Mail, or you can click on announcements. Here we go, and it's going to list all the announcements. I'm going to end this lecture at this time and then go to our second lecture so you can see the second lecture in our series. Thanks for your attention, and I look forward to seeing you in a few minutes or at a later time.